by the time most men die, they have spent 15 years staring at a screen. The leading cause for premature death of men in the UK and many other countries is suicide. We are in the middle of a mental health crisis for men. 99% of men are stuck spending hours in front of TikTok watching cat videos. Over 50% of adults are overweight. I think it's time for a change. It's time for us men to break the paradigm and change the current status quo. We live during times when the thought leaders for men are guys who are promoting smoking cigars and making men believe that the life goal is to own 50 Bugattis. I think that it's time for a revolution, and that starts right now. Here are 7 traits of the 1% man that everybody appreciates about men. 7 traits that can save you years. Enjoy. Alright then, 7 things the 1% men do. And before I was sitting down to create this video, I asked friends, I asked ChatGPT, I asked my social media community, what are things that you appreciate about a man? What do you think are characteristics of the 1% man? And you can do the same thing right now. You can leave your opinion in the comments down below. Those are just things that I would share with my kids if I would have any kids. Those are things that, in hindsight, connecting the dots, made me grow immensely as a man. The first and probably the most important character trait of the 1% man is they ask for help. One of the saddest statistics that I've ever heard in my entire life is the following. The number one reason for death in men under 50 in the UK and in many other countries as well is suicide. Men in general are less likely to talk about their problems, their challenges, their mental health issues. I think it is because many men were conditioned to believe that it's a weakness to show emotion, that it's a weakness to cry, to even just communicate that you're struggling. Men are more likely than women to be depressed, and men also are less likely to ask for help, to even talk with their friends about this. So I would say, and I think everybody agrees on that, it's not strength to suffer in silence. It's not strength to suppress your emotions and pretend everything is fine. Real strength means being honest about the situation, about how you feel. I, for example, grew up with a conditioning from the Soviet Union that included the belief that showing emotion, crying, is weak. So, as a child, I just accepted that this is how it is. I didn't know any better, right? And then, I had my first relationship, and I noticed, hey, I get really uncomfortable when someone else is crying, and I would get really judgmental and just feel weird. So the first time I lived with one of my longer relationships, I remember every single time when she cried, I would judge and get uncomfortable and like, why are you crying? This is no reason to cry. The older I got, the more I realized, hey, maybe I am the problem. Maybe my judgment towards showing emotion is the problem. Spoiler alert, it really is the problem. It really was the problem. And for a lot of men, that is also one of the reasons why they tap into addiction. They have a problem, they have a feeling, and they want to numb it instead of feeling it. I've seen it with my own eyes multiple times. Traumatic event happens, and instead of feeling it, instead of asking for help, instead of actually processing it, let's just numb it with alcohol, with drugs, with work. Those are not the characteristics of the 1% man. And I would say that is the characteristics. This is the program that, part of it, that led us to where we are right now. In a massive mental health crisis for men. So, once and for all, let's stop the bullshit. Let's redefine what strength is. Suppressing your emotions, judging people for having emotions is A, very unhealthy, and B, has nothing to do with real strength. It's so easy. But this conditioning has led us to exactly where we are right now. But the good news is, you and I, we're not stones, we can change. It starts with this awareness though. And if the mental health aspect wasn't enough, also in business, it's one of the most important skills that you can develop. Asking for help, being a team player. Think about the biggest brands, the biggest personal brands that you know. Those are all people who are team players, who can ask for help. I coach entrepreneurs. I work with entrepreneurs. Most of them, they are stuck in this beginner phase because they are terrified of asking for help. They think, oh, I have to do everything by myself. And that is just terrible conditioning. Become a great team player. Ask for help. I can tell you that this is one of the skill sets that can make you incredibly rich, both financially and emotionally. When you learn how to ask for help, who to ask for help. Stop trying to do everything just by yourself. In the business world, for example, you want to learn to ask the people who are so much better at that certain skill than you. But that means that you are somewhat humble. That's probably another characteristic of the 1% man. Being humble. Being honest. Hey, there are people who are doing this much, much better. Let me find those people. Think about someone like Steve Jobs. He once was famously asked, well, if you are not a designer, if you don't know how to code, if you can't do this, what are you doing? And he was saying, I'm just playing the orchestra. He knew who to ask. He knew who to find. He, maybe not in the most kind way, but he was able to ask for help. So number one, if you just remember one thing, then to ask for help. To ask for help when you are struggling emotionally. To ask for help when there is a task that feels so overwhelming you don't know how to manage. To ask for help when you think you're so incredibly alone. The 1% men ask for help. The second one, they eat for life energy. Another really sad statistic is over 50% of people in Europe are overweight. The standard that we have these days in terms of how we eat is pathetic, and future generations will look at us and do this. They really ate that way. Go to any major big city in the Western world. You will see more fast food options than you see healthy whole food options. That is just ridiculous. And now we can go blame the government, or we take self-responsibility, another trait of the 1% man. We take responsibility and we say, well, even though there are those options, we eat for life energy. We don't eat for a 5-second dopamine hit to feel good for 5 seconds. But we think long-term. Weak men, they think short-term gratification, instant gratification. Let me eat that burger and I feel good for 5.5 seconds and then I don't have any energy for the next 10 hours. 1% men do the opposite. They ask themselves like, how will I feel after I ate this? What can I eat so I feel long-term healthy and energized? Not the quick fix, delayed gratification. So the 1% men eat for life energy, not a quick dopamine hit. That means whole foods, food that you love, but the food should also love you back, and it should make you feel good for longer than 3.5 seconds. So from today on, eat for life energy. Before you eat something, before you put something in your mouth, ask yourself, how will I feel after this? How will I feel in 2 hours and 10 hours? And then eliminate all the foods from your environment that you know is not serving you. We eat food that can survive for 5 years because it's so highly processed. Like, eat food that is real, not 15 protein bars and 17 chocolate bars and candy. And it makes me, that is something like, I'm staying away from criticizing other creators and personal brands, but not when I see that people do harm. And there are multiple, some of the biggest creators in the world. They promote candy, especially for the younger audience, detrimental. Chocolate bars, some lunch boxes that are filled with processed meat. I'm a solution-oriented guy, so I make videos like this. But please don't be part of that. Because it doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't serve you. That doesn't mean that there's never any room for fast food or grandma's cake. It's about what are you doing most of the time. The one cake, the one burger won't destroy your results, your body, the way you look long term. Just like one workout won't make you fit healthy, or one healthy meal won't do the job. It's about what are you doing the majority of the time. And I would say at least, that's the bare minimum, at least 80% of what you eat should be whole foods. And that is really the bare minimum. It takes a conscious effort to stay away from all those fast food options, especially considering the fact that in countries like the US, often the fast food option is cheaper than the whole food option. But maybe that's your challenge. Maybe that's my challenge. Maybe that's why this video is called The 1% Man. I know that blaming and just sitting there complaining and being a victim is no option for me and you. So the other option is to be the creator, take self-responsibility, and put food into your body that makes you feel good. For yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. Sorry to say it, but the fact that 50% are overweight, and I'm not judging, you can do with your body whatever you want to do. I'm making this video for the 1% man. And the 1% man is not eating Burger King for lunch, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That doesn't go hand in hand. Because it affects everything, your body, your mind, they're connected. If you eat like shit, you feel like shit. Garbage in, garbage out. This is just how it works. It leads straight to the third point. They take care of their body. They exercise. They move on a daily basis. The average adult sits between 6.5 and 8 hours every single day. Our bodies were not designed to sit that much. If I sit for longer than 30 minutes, 1 hour, I feel tired. Now imagine how you feel after sitting for 4 or 5 hours. One of the most powerful things that you can do after this video, if you haven't done it already, is to get a standing desk, or even better, a treadmill desk. The 1% men are moving their bodies. They're taking care of their bodies. Imagine you are 18 years old and I say you can pick a car, any car that you want. The only catch is you will have to drive this car for the rest of your life. How would you take care of that car? You would say, well, Axel, I would drive very carefully. I would take it to the service regularly. I would only put the highest quality fuel into this body. I will do whatever I can so that this car is being taken care of, so that I can drive even in 40, 50, 60 years. That car is your body. And when you sit all day and when you don't move, you already know it's not rocket science what it does with your energy levels. Yet the majority, you go into an office, the majority is just sitting there. That is causing disease, that is causing lack of performance. Like if we would just change that, if we would be the generation that stops sitting so much, that again doesn't mean you can't sit at all, but it means majority of the time, at home I have a standing desk. The majority of the time I am standing or moving. When you have a Zoom call, do you really have to sit there? Sometimes yes, but all of those calls, like I, for example, have this thing with my assistant. When I call her, I don't do video calls, I do audio calls, and I take her on a walk or I stretch. Really include movement. That's how you generate energy, not from sitting 7 hours. Energy is created by movement. Sounds a little counterintuitive, but this is how the body works. Energy doesn't come from sitting there for 6 hours straight. Energy comes when you move, when you go on walks, when you stand, when you jump, when you really make use of that body. And I hope this video inspires you to get a freaking standing desk and start small. Start with a couple hours of standing. You will see like, oh my gosh, I'm actually sitting a lot. Or I can ask you right now, how many hours per day are you sitting on an average day? How many hours do you spend sitting? If that number is like the average number, 6.5 to 8 hours, you are literally hurting yourself. You are more likely to get several diseases. Your mobility is getting worse and worse and worse, and your energy levels. You leave productivity on the table, happiness, money, performance. What else do you want? Pick a sport. Pick something that you love doing, where you automatically move. And I'm going to ask you the question here. In terms of your fitness goals, is your biggest goal really to be as gigantic as possible, to deadlift as much weight as possible? Or is your goal to be able to play with your kids when you're 70? Because often you can't have both. Like when you try to hit a PR in your deadlift every single week and you have a terrible form, but right now you're really strong, that is one thing. But how will that look like? How will your bones, your hips look like? Your passive structures look like when you're 70 or 80? When I was 18, my goal was like, I just want to have the biggest biceps possible. I want to be as big as possible. I was 15 kilograms heavier than I am right now. And at some point, all I got, I was like, well, actually, health was my priority. So I started doing cardio as well. Because my heart health is really important to me. Like you can look great on the outside, but inside you can be super unhealthy. So what is your goal? I'm not judging you. I'm saying like for me, the 1% men, they take care of their health. So they can provide safety. They can provide energy. They can be there. They can provide energy, safety, love. That is really hard when you feel energetically low. Everything is really hard when you feel energetically low, including thinking positively. So your body is a temple. The 1% men know that. They take care of their bodies as if it's the only body they have. They know they don't have a spare body laying around in their bedroom. They know this is the only body you get in this freaking life. So I'm going to fuel it with incredible food and I'm going to move it every day. I'm going to use it. I become stronger, faster. I prioritize my heart health. That is what the 1% men do. Number 4, the 1% men feed their minds, not their TikTok hours. Right now, get out your phone and see how much time do you spend in front of a screen on an average day. Just do it right now. Don't just follow, go, get your phone out and let me know in the comments. Be honest, be vulnerable. That's what the 1% men and women do. Tell us, what is your screen time? What is your average screen time? And what, if you would have to, set a limit for yourself? What would be a screen time that you would be happy with? Average number, wait for it, 6.5 hours of screen time. That's average statistic, multiple hours of scrolling, mindless scrolling on social media per day. Check this out. According to a recent report, a person born in 2025 is projected to spend 21 years of their life staring at screens. If you have 24 hours, you sleep 8 hours. That gives you 16 hours. If you then spend 6 hours in front of a screen, that's a very big chunk of your day. What would you like that number to be? Let alone what it does to your bank account. Like, if any man or woman actually is in financial difficulties and spends 1.5 or 2 hours per day mindlessly scrolling, that for me just doesn't make any sense. If you would use that time to actually build something meaningful, to generate income, even if you would just sell lemonade on the streets or cook hummus, become the best hummus sales dealer in your town, I don't care, but that hour every day, or even 2 hours, for some people it's even much longer, in your entire lifespan will be millions of dollars. Use that time, make money, invest that money. But let's talk about you. What is your screen time? What is your use ChatGPT or a calculator? What is the projected time that you will be spending in front of screens? Imagine you get feedback at the end of your life and you see, I spent so many hours working, I spent so many hours sleeping, I spent so many hours on a screen watching cat videos. Again, I'm not judging you, I'm just asking you, how do you want to spend your time? Will you be happy at the end of your life? And if the answer is no, then what would you do instead with that time? Could you go to the gym? Could you learn a new language? Could you start running? And to close the loop, could you start feeding your mind instead? Jim Rohn, the original mentor of Tony Robbins and many other amazing people, once said, feed your mind every day for at least 30 minutes. I've been following that rule. I got that advice around 10 years ago. I spent way more time than just 30 minutes per day feeding my mind, and it led to a beautiful place. I would 100% confidently say the 1% men feed their minds on a daily basis. Instead of being distracted, they are proactive and very intentional about how they spend their time. So that means for you, exchange cat videos and mindless scrolling, and instead feed your mind, read audiobooks, listen to self-help podcasts, feed your mind, learn new skills, learn new languages. At least 30 minutes of your day should go into growing your mind, feeding your mind. Remember, garbage in means garbage out. These days, you can spend time with thought leaders, experts who studied a topic for decades. You can buy their knowledge for 10, 20, 30 euros, learn from their mistakes, learn from their wins for the price of a few schmacpuccinos at Starbucks, or if you live in London, one schmacpuccino. 1% man, take advantage of that. Jim Rohn also used to say success leaves clues. So if you want to achieve a goal, the fastest way is to learn from someone or from multiple people who have already achieved what you want to achieve. For those of you who want to build a personal brand, pretty much everybody online, what it feels like at the moment, and you want to learn from someone who has been doing that for the past 8 years, who has built the most amazing audience on social media with over 600,000 people, from 0 to 600,000 people, and helped so many people, build their own personal brands and monetize them, well, then you came to the right spot. I've created a 90-minute training with the most important steps for you to achieve exactly that, to build your own personal brand about your heart, about your passion topic, to change lives and make shitloads of money with it. And it's completely for free. You'll find the link underneath this video. Sign up, but do me a favor. When you join the training, join it intentionally. Come with the right attitude. Your attitude determines your altitude. Okay, if you treat it like another training, another webinar, and you answer WhatsApp messages on the side, might as well not even want to bother, because entrepreneurship is really for the 1% man and the 1% woman. It's really for people who are able to focus. If you can't show up with the right energy, you might as well forget about this. So sign up to the training. If you're serious about personal branding, if you're serious about creating your own evergreen products like I did, I have a health membership with, I think, more than 1,000 people at this point. I've created multiple programs that change lives, hosted God knows how many retreats. I put my best knowledge into this training, into my programs, High Ticket Blueprint and Evergreen Blueprint. Click on the link below, schedule a training, and we hop over to the next point. Number 5, they build generational wealth. When I asked my community before, what are traits that makes the 1% man, many said being able to provide, building generational wealth. One of the best pieces of advice that I once received in terms of wealth was to invest at least 10% of your income and let it grow and let it compound. Albert Einstein called compounding the 8th wonder of the world. You want to use it. You want to invest. You want to create assets. You want to accumulate assets, then make money while you sleep. The 1% man accumulate assets. The rest accumulates liabilities, buys cars they can't afford to impress their neighbors, has every year the newest iPhone, but no money to invest in their own education. You want to do the opposite. You want to invest in yourself. Warren Buffett once famously said that the best investment he ever made was into a Dale Carnegie course, learning how to communicate effectively. The more you learn, the more you earn. So if we combine number 4 and number 5, that means you want to learn, but you also want to implement and you want to build. You want to build generational wealth. How about in your family, you are the one who says, I'm going to end the struggle for now and for all the future generations in my family. What would that be like? Isn't that a really nice goal to have as a man in this life? To set up investment strategies, and really is not that difficult. It's actually very simple. But we live in a life where we have such low standards for men, also I would say for in general for society. Hours every day for Netflix, but no 30 minutes for going to the gym. We have thousands of dollars every year for the newest iPhone, but zero budget when it comes to booking retreats, coaching, self-education. Financing a car you can't afford for 30 years, but not able to invest into real estate. Mindlessly scrolling for hours every day, but I don't have time to educate myself about investing, ETFs. This is the standard we have these days. But not you, because you're part of the 1% man. And maybe also, I'm curious, are any women still watching at this point or listening? So let others lead those kind of lives. I was about to say, let them lead small lives, but not you. Let them waste your time, but not you. Let them make excuses, but not you. You are the one who says, this ends with me. Generational trauma, I'm not willing to pass that on. I'm not willing. In many families that are broke, like past generations were broke already. Like, wouldn't you want to change that? Wouldn't you want to say, this is enough, enough is enough? I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to build generational wealth for my family and future families. Number 6, they become better human beings and better partners, better friends, and it's never ending. They work on themselves. They work on themselves harder than they work on their jobs. Whether that's through coaching, therapy, books, feedback from other people. One really exciting exercise you can do right now, you can pause the video, is to ask your friends, what are qualities that you like about me? And what do you think are my strengths? And what is maybe something that I should work on? What are some of my weaknesses? And we all have strengths and weaknesses. The 1% men, they are constantly improving this and are humble enough to acknowledge, hey, I do have weaknesses. I'm not perfect. I'm working on them. So I would say the 1% men, do therapy. Like really, for me, it's such a green flag whenever I see a man who does therapy. Because honestly, most of us have been traumatized in our lives. Many men have been abused mentally and physically, especially physically, past generations. They've been beaten and run around with those massive wounds and never really looking at them. And what happens to a wound if it's not healing? Worst case, it gets even worse. It gets infected. As a man, you want to work on this. You want to become a better partner. You want to become a better friend, a better leader, a better person. That's what you and I are here for, to grow, to evolve, to see how can we have more joy, how can we contribute more. It's never-ending improvement, and that can be fun. How do you usually feel when you grow, let's say, financially? Great, right? How do you feel when you grow physically, when you are able to finish a certain workout faster, you improved your running time? You usually feel great. When you make progress in your relationships, how do you feel? Great. We are here to grow. It's a spiritual need you and I have. Last but not least, they donate, they contribute, they provide. Does it have to be money all the time? I don't think so. I don't tell anybody how to live. If you want to live 50-50, you live 50-50. I know for many men, it would be a problem if their partners would make more money than themselves. I think you have an ego issue if that's the case. I mean, if you are in a romantic relationship with someone, that's usually, or it should be, because of love, not because of money. And if my partner would make more money than me, I would be like, amazing. I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. That doesn't make me less. I think everybody here, men, women, we're here to financially thrive. If you work on yourself, if you live your soul's purpose, you make loads of money. I'm happy for you. As the 1% man, you want, or we want, to give back. Because when you make sure your cup is full, if your cup is full and you do all of the things I previously said, the odds are very high that your cup will be full at some point. You want to give back to something bigger than yourself. It's, I think, the highest form of self-development. When you can donate money to charity, when you can help, when you can provide safety for your friends, for your loved ones, but that means your own cup is full first. And that is something that we always need to remind ourselves of. We need to make sure we do all of those things I previously mentioned. We need to take care of our own mental health. We need to rest. We also need to take action. Rest, action, both of those things. We need to be able to ask for help when it gets too much, or when, times are challenging right now. You're able to contribute and to give. And I can tell you from my own life experience, the things that I'm most proud of are the moments when I give back. And there's this funny thing about love, and we all want to experience love. When you give love, you usually feel love. when you buy someone flowers, when you buy your girl flowers, it usually makes you feel very good about yourself too, right? What a concept. So how about you do more of that? How about you make it to a monthly thing where you go volunteer, where you go give? People who are giving usually don't have to worry about having, financially and spiritually. Those were 7 traits of the 1% man. Let me know in the comments, what would you add? What is in your eyes a character trait or multiple character traits of the 1% man? To everybody listening, watching, I'm always asking, what is something that you will change after this content piece, after this podcast? What is something that you will implement immediately? Act when the idea is hot. One thing immediately afterwards, one new action. If you do the same thing over and over again, nothing will ever change. It could be pre-ordering my book, immediately starting to meditate, immediately using my visualization practices. If you watch this after the 11th of November, you can read my book and feed your mind. But honestly, if you don't want to read my book, do something new. Thank you so much for listening, watching, subscribe if you haven't already. That gives you 7 years of good luck. I wish you nothing but the best, and I wish for you to, for all of us, to grow, to evolve, and enjoy life. In that sense, may you be safe, healthy, and peaceful, and until very soon.